All right, what's going on, guys? Young 46, and we are playing the eTOUR here. So, got a good wind here on the first hole. Not a bad number in here. 260 downwind. Definitely green light to go for it here. So I already played this round, so just kind of narrating. Get the heartbeat here on the first hole. That's huge. You know you hit it obviously within 10 feet, so going to be a really good look at eagle. And just going to ram it in here. Not too tough of a putt. Got a really nice tailwind here. All right, ooh, I was thinking, okay, just want to knock it over the back of the green, get myself a good pitch, and if I get lucky, maybe we make it. Got the kick, and it's just going to keep going off the green here. 18 yards, pretty good number, really. Everything breaks a little left to right here, plus you got the wind going left to right, so the tricky part about this is just trying to, in your head, figure out how much you have to give for the wind and release. So I'm probably playing this somewhere around 90% or so. Yep, right at 90. Get the heartbeat. I'm like, oh man, we made it. And not quite. That's all right. Still a good start. Eagle birdie. Off to a good start, but we got two tough holes coming up with 3 and 4. I think on this side, really it's 3, 4, 6, and 8 are the big holes that'll kill your score. So this wasn't too bad of a wind. Really, the wind I don't like the most on this hole is a tailwind because it's very hard to stop it. Anything with a headwind's pretty good. There was 2 ways I could play this. I could play a kind of a soft 3-iron, or I could go hard 4. And decided to go hard 4. Figured hard 4 was the best play. Just take a little bit of spin off of it. And that way, if I land short, it'll still kick on the green. It could run up the hill and come back. Whereas 3-iron, I just had to be very precise about where I landed it. Ended up hitting the ding, got the heartbeat, so thought this would be quite close. It wasn't too bad, just kind of released up there to, I don't know, 4 feet probably. 3 feet. So 3 feet, just a little tap in. Not going to take much time over this, just hit the ram, very similar to number 1. A good start, but we still got number 4 coming up, and I was very happy to see this wind. I think this is probably the best wind for me personally on this hole. And it's just a nice headwind. I can be aggressive, attack the pin. Kind of a long ways in though, and this is one of those where I'm kind of right in between a 6-iron or a soft 5. So 6-iron I got to take a little bit of spin off, and 5 I got to hit it about probably 94-95% power. So it was interesting when you look at the wind. When I hit the reverse camera angle, it was dead straight. So I decided I was going to try to ding it, and worst case miss late, and it should be fine. I actually missed a lot later than I wanted to, but got the heartbeat, and it's really going right at the pin. So it worked out pretty good. But 2 reasons. Obviously, if you end up on the right side, it's a much easier putt than left. So that's why I went with that shot, and then a little 4.8 footer. But this putt's tricky. You'll see different dot speeds. So the dots are kind of moving real slow here, but that doesn't feel right. Like, having had this putt enough, I know it's got to break more than what the dots are showing here. I'm just kind of double checking it. You can see the dots are moving a lot quicker there. I think this is probably going to be somewhere around a little under a quarter of a grid or so. Just hitting it really, pretty firm here. Take a lot of that break out of it that way. Off to a good start, 5 under through 4. Decent wind here too. Really not too bad of a wind. Obviously hit the fairway. The biggest thing on this hole, really, I just wanted to make sure I hit the ding. A lot of times when you miss ding on this hole, you lose distance for sure. And again, I was kind of in this situation where I was like a little in between clubs. Didn't want to leave it out to the right. I feel like when you miss late here, you go really far out to the right. So I was trying really hard to ding this, and I was right in between 7-iron, 6-iron. Ended up going 7-iron with some spin off, and just tugged it. I was so anti-right that I ended up pulling it left. And this is a putt I do not like. I don't really like this spot. It can be a little tricky to read the dots. And a lot of this is just experience on how to read this putt. So if you look at reverse view, it's a little quick. And if you look at forward view, it's a little slow. So you kind of have to almost average them out in your head and figure out where your spot should be. You can see dots are moving a little bit slower here, but we're also dealing with 2 grids in this view. So it kind of adds to the difficulty of the putt. Obviously 2 grids in the other view as well. So you're trying to read 2 grids and figure out where the ball's going to go through. I end up going with about a little over 1/3 of a grid here. And just hit it somewhat firm. Ended up dropping on the high side, which is a good putt. Now we got 6. 6 is a tricky hole. Just one where you just want the heartbeat. If you feel like you get the heartbeat, chances of making birdie, for me anyway, are pretty good, I feel like. What I've noticed on this hole is I kind of have to over-aim a little bit. And I aim here, and I'm looking at it, and I'm just like, I need to aim a little bit more. Increase the aim. We're going 3-iron here. I think it's right around 95, 96% power. Right around 96%. Really important to hit the ding here. Hit the ding. Heartbeat. Should be a birdie. Actually almost hole it out. So just a really, really short putt here. My thought initially was just right there and just jam it. That was my thought. Just right there, 42% power, and let's just move on to the next hole. But I kind of got to that point of the round where I'm like, okay, we need to focus a little bit and maybe do a little better job reading the greens. And this is like a train wreck. I have no reason. I have no clue why I aim so much, and I hit the wrong speed and just jammed it through the line. I think the line was okay, but the speed was terrible. So I should never miss that putt. I mean, that's a putt I should make 99% of the time. So I was pretty ticked at this point. Really gave one away there. Got the par 5. Got a slight tail. It's really not going to play much of anything here. I'm already thinking about my second shot here if I want to lay up probably right of the center bunker. Just play it safe. Just kind of aim it at the bunker. Then worst case, miss late and should be fine. I can miss pretty late and get away with it. So miss a little late. And just right in the fairway, so not going to be too bad of a number. A little bit of a headwind, uphill. So probably it's playing 59, probably like 60, about 60 yards, maybe 59.5 or so, something like that. Slope's kind of left to right here. Just going to hit I thought about hitting a punch in here, but de-lofting into this hole, I don't really like doing it, so I had to hit a little flat wedge. I got the number wrong there. It's about 84% is what I meant to hit. Hit it a little firm the first time. Got the heartbeat, but it's looking way left to me, so I was a little concerned for a second. I ended up coming back, and this putt, I've had this putt before. It's just pretty much dead straight and firm. Just double checking it. You can see it's got a little bit of break, but if you hit it hard enough, you can just kind of push it through. And then I went with the early misting just in case there. That was kind of a crummy wind on 8. Much rather be hitting a iron into this hole. So my issue here was I think I had, let's see, 203, 205 plus 11, like 216, 217 or something like that to the hole. So kind of right in between 3-iron. I knew if I went 3-iron, didn't ding it, I'm coming up short. So I had to hit the club that I can't stand hitting, which is a hybrid. And then I wasn't sure. I almost went right there. I probably should have. Should have hit about 98%. But I hit a clutch ding there. Something I struggled to do on this hole. But unfortunately, it just kind of sailed away from me. So about 17 feet or so, I think. Yeah, 16.3. Downhiller, and I look at it, I'm like, wow, it's surprisingly simple, really. There wasn't much to it. It was really just trying to figure out what the beginning of the putt was going to do, and then the middle's kind of straight, and you can see it breaking back towards us, but we're only probably going to get about half that break we're seeing at the end. And then at the beginning, we're probably going to get, 3/4 of that. So I'm just really just reading it in my head, just trying to picture the line. So we've got some initial break, and then right at the end, it's going to come back just a little bit. So just kind of taking a peek at that. That looks pretty good. I remember thinking it's pretty good, and then, well, we'll come back just a hair. I came back just a hair, but I kind of compensated by hitting it a little bit firmer. I probably would have normally played that putt, I don't know, 28% or so. Just kind of creeped it in. I think the other line was would have been dead center. Got a good wind here. It's a good wind for how I like to play this hole. I like to go long left and then spin it back to the hole. So to me, this is a really good wind. It kind of helps bring it back towards the hole. So a little more how I like to play it. Whereas when it's right to left, I have to kind of adjust how I prefer to play the hole. So this is just going to be a 7-iron with just a little bit off. Like I said, I want to go past the pin, then zip it back. So got the heartbeat here. Knew it was going to be a pretty good shot. But I did land it a little bit further than I wanted. I probably carried 2 yards further than what I had pictured in my head. But got the comebacker and pretty simple putt here. I just wanted to make sure I didn't leave it short. So hit it nice and firm. Again, went with the early missed dings. The dots are moving right to left. And not a bad front nine there, other than the very, very short putt I missed, which was still frustrating me at this point. Got a good wind here. Normally I go down the right, but I, for some reason, decided to go down the left here. I just wanted to see if I could get it a little further down the hill, and I actually ended up quite a ways back from what I normally would have been. I probably could have got that to about 190, 188 yards if I had gone down the right and caught the hill. Worst case, I probably would have ended up about 204. So a little further back here. Which tricky part about this, I'm hitting a 3-iron, and obviously we can't go at the pin. We've got to figure out how short to land it. So I think I took off about 8 yards or so. Just because the hole normally plays shorter anyway. Plus we have to bounce it up. So where it normally would have been like a, pretty full 3-iron. Took some off, tugged it a little bit. But it almost worked out to be really, really good. Just a tap in there. So that's a big birdie. So 11 and 12 have been 2 holes that I've struggled on in this qualifier. Just trying to dial in the distance has been a bit of an issue. Here I played way out to the right on purpose. Just didn't really want to mess with the going in the rough or using the kick. A lot of times with my clubs, I'll take that left hill and bounce it in the rough and then kick it down the fairway, but didn't want to take a risk here. So the number to me was like a perfect 8-iron. It was like a perfect fullback 8-iron. I just needed to make sure I was getting the wind right. So I wanted to check both camera angles. Sometimes it can play a little different. So at this point, we're trying to be very thorough. Obviously, 10 under through 10. We don't want to screw up on something silly here. And this just felt really good. I felt like the wind aim was perfect. Like both camera angles were kind of jiving. So ended up just hitting the ding here, full 8-iron. And just hit a pretty good shot here. A little out to the right, but not bad. I hate being left on this hole, so definitely a spot that I'll take all day long. And not much break here. But again, we're kind of at that point. If this were a normal round, I'd probably just step up and jam this. Very simple, but you just don't want your round to get derailed by an easy putt. And on the flip side, the par 3 was a little bit of a paralysis by analysis, so I was trying to keep that in mind as well. Just barely aiming outside. I think probably hitting this like 43% or so. Yep. It's 43%. Actually, almost missed this too. Kind of barely snuck in there. That was a little, whoa. Just playing it safe here. I could try to get the kick off the brush, but at the same time, I've had it where it doesn't quite get through, so I didn't want to take a risk. I just played it safe here. Probably could have got this, 30, 40 yards further, or I could have ended up in the brush, which is probably more likely. So in between clubs here, I was right in between an 8-iron and a 9-iron. I just decided to go 9-iron, just take some spin off of this here. I wasn't sure what to do with the wind aim. Here you can see it's a little right to left, but in reverse view it was dead straight. So I ended up trusting reverse view. And it was pretty accurate. And I've had this putt a million times. It's just dead straight, misting, move on. So just miss early here and should drop. I wanted to miss that a little earlier than what I did. So I shouldn't say dead straight, but I play it dead straight. This is a pretty good wind here. But again, it put me in between clubs. I was in between clubs a lot. Or like what I wanted to do. And I wanted to overplay to the left here. Very similar to what I did on a 6. So just play a little bit more wind than what I'm thinking, because it is downhill. I probably should have hit 5-iron. I went 4-iron. But I think 5-iron was probably the play in reality. But I hit a really good shot and it stopped quick, so it worked out well. So pretty easy putt here. But again, take my time. Don't want to miss a short putt because I'm rushing it. And just double checking, making sure the dots are somewhat close in that view. I was going to hit this firmer, but I decided to kind of dial back the speed, which means you got to increase the aim. So I was going to hit this like 30, 31%, but brought it back to about 28%. And drop the putt. Got a really good wind here. I was like, oh, wow. I haven't had a wind this good in all my attempts. I really wanted to be aggressive. I was thinking I might be able to reach the screen in 2, which was kind of exciting. I got an okay kick. It wasn't huge, but 253 in with an 18-mile-an-hour tailwind. Thought, well, maybe. Only thing is you got to carry it all the way to the hole. So this was a little risky shot, and I kind of went back and forth for a second. I thought about laying up here. I'd actually told myself in this situation I would lay up, just because I've parted a few times trying to go for it in 2, and this leaves a really tricky shot. I end up getting it on, but obviously you're not holding that hill. So now I move the mouse a little bit. I'm not sure how I want to play this. Like, I don't want to pitch it and have it go really long. I know it's going to skip. And if you hit a certain point, you get this big skip, and if you don't carry it far enough, it just dies. So I was thinking in my head what would be the perfect spot. And I was thinking if I land it like 11 yards, it would be okay, right? Like, I'd probably go past, or I'd come up a little short. But either way, it's going to leave me somewhere within a pretty makeable putt. I was torn right here. I wanted to be aggressive. I wanted to give it a chance to go in, but I didn't want to shoot myself in the foot. So I decided to play it a little defensively and hit a little less than kind of what I was initially thinking. And I just didn't get that big first bounce like I anticipated. I got the dead bounce. A little bit timid there. Left myself with a tricky putt. Tricky thing about this putt is you'll see when I go in reverse view, you'll see it's in between 2 grid lines, and that grid line on the right there is really slow. So it's hard to decipher sometimes exactly how much the putt's going to break because of that. See, the dots are moving just a little bit slower in this view. So I end up going out to about a little over a third of a grid, hit it about 33% or so. That was a good bird. That was a sigh. Like, I didn't want to par that hole. Now we got 15, which 14 and 15 should be easy birdies, but I've parred these a lot during this qualifier. I'm playing it extra safe out to the right here with the missed ding late was what I wanted to do, but accidentally hit the ding. A little bit of an accidental ding. And I already know when I see that number, I'm going to have a really awkward shot in. I have about, I think it ends up being 88 yards or so. And I got a control spin. So that means I got to put a little bit of spin on my wedge, which I try not to do if at all possible. But 88 yards, it would squirt away if I played it neutral. So we had to have some type of stopping power on this. I was very relieved to get the heartbeat there. So very happy to get the heartbeat. Just an easy tap in there. So now we got 16, and this was not the wind I wanted to see because it's hard to stop the ball here. So I had to kind of make a decision. Was I willing to risk coming up short and possibly have a 30-footer up the hill, or am I okay landing at pin high and just letting it release long? So I ended up just saying we'll try to make the long putt. So I just wanted to make sure my 4-iron carried at least to the pin. It's probably about 96.5 I wanted to go. A little short. So didn't get the heartbeat, which was a bit of a bummer, but that's okay. So the tricky thing about this is I didn't want to overplay the break. Like my tendency when I do miss this putt is I play too much break. But I know it's not straight. So again, really, obviously taking our time here. I'm kind of going back and forth. I'm watching this putt in my head, and I'm watching it miss high. I'm basically kind of rolling it in my head, like, I'm going to miss high. I can't miss high. So I still wasn't 100% on this line, but I went with it and caught the top half, and man, that could have definitely not gone in. So this was a crushing moment right here. 16 under 16, you get a headwind on 17, instantly you cannot reach the green. So I was pretty not happy when I saw this wind. So just put it in the fairway and then just try to get as far up as I can, and take my par, I guess, and move on to 18. I thought I'd probably be, 25, 30 yards from the hole, but I actually cut this really good. And I saw this and I was like, oh man, I can make this. Like, this is actually within a makeable pitch range. So I go to the putter here. You should always do that. That's a tip, by the way. If you're pitching, it gives you different grid lines. So always go to putt view to get the real view of what the actual dots are doing. So all I had to really anticipate here was the wind. The dots weren't doing anything. So just trying to figure out how much to give it for the wind. It was just a slight headwind, so I didn't play much for it. But definitely trying to be aggressive and hold this here. And yeah, popped her in. So that was pretty exciting right there. So 17 under through 17 with the really bad miss putt on 6. Get this wind. I was really hoping for a tailwind. I just wanted a nice, easy, wedge in, take my birdie, try to hole it out. but I knew with this wind we were going to have probably a 9 or an 8 iron in here. So playing it really safe. I was looking at that bunker and it was kind of in play, so just wanted to take it out of play. So I'm thinking aim out to the right. I can miss ding as far late as I want and be just fine, just can't pull it. So went with my anti-pull swing and just kind of popped it in there. I guess I actually couldn't have hit the bunker, but wasn't really worth the risk. So I'm in this situation where I can maybe hit a hard 9 there, or I can go soft 8. And I've been going hard all day, but in this situation, I felt like going soft was probably the better play. And in my head here, I'm trying to imagine when it hits the green, what is it going to do? So things tend to slope towards the pin, right? So we want to land it a little left of the pin in this view, and then let the slope and the wind kind of bring it back to the hole. So here I'm just thinking, am I over aiming? I was starting to wonder, because the wind's a little bit different in the camera angles. Not much of a difference though. Fairly similar. If I were to go the reverse view, it's slightly different. So I ended up going about 94%. Tugged it. I thought it was going to be a bad shot, but I got pretty lucky here. It really didn't get affected. And hit a pretty nice shot. But I knew this is a sneaky little downhiller. Very easy to miss this putt. Again, normally this would be a ram. Probably wouldn't take much time over this putt. Just when you aim out there and then I'll jam it and then I'll miss ding whichever way I feel like I need to. Just trying to get a really good read here. I want to be 110% confident in this. And I kind of like this line, and I'm thinking miss ding. Like it looks good, and just miss a little, and it should go in. So hit a little bit of a miss ding, and dropped it. So pretty good round, 18 under. Obviously the eagle at 1. Still not happy with that miss putt on 6. It was just super easy, but really solid back 9. That pitch in on 17 was just absolutely huge. So 54, we're leading the eTour. So obviously we'll qualify. Good luck to everybody that is qualifying this week and over the next 7 weeks. Look forward to seeing you guys in the eTour bracket. Appreciate you guys tuning in as always. Be sure to hit that like button, and if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel.